Hi everybody, it's Colin here from Woodthorpe International. Hope you're all well. Well, I just thought I'd show you me speed measuring the Amtrak day one livery. Just to show how it's done and then show it running in automated mode. What I can have up straight away is the decoder programming window and the speed measuring. Now, this is handy for setting the speeds up because the first thing you've got to do is find the top speed, and I've looked it up and it's about 90 miles an hour. 80 to 90 is the range in America for this particular loco. And the other is the slowest speed it can go, that it moves when you actually make it, turn your dial, or iTrain puts power to the train, that it moves straight away at whatever speed you set it to. And I'll show you this. But I'm just going to show you here it doing a full measure. And you set your maximum speed, your mid speed, and your slow speed. Your acceleration and deacceleration, I put to 0. I can adjust that with iTrain in the local settings. I can put milliseconds on and it'll move away slower and stuff like that. You can incorporate both, but it's more fiddly. So what you do is, I'm just measuring both ways. I do 28 steps and I measure every third one. And it starts off at the fastest going down to the slowest. And it'll give you a graph on this side what it is. So if I just click start, the train will start to run, and you may hear it. It's not got sound on, but you may hear it. So forward is 92 and backwards is 88, and it'll just go through this process and it'll get slower and slower. And if you notice up here, it's put a red line and a green line. And they're not always the same going forward as they are backwards. As you can appreciate, motors run different going forward and going backwards and stuff. Just move that down so you can see it to the slowest speed. And we're over halfway now. And what you're trying to do is get a slight curve or a big curve up there. Different locals do it different. Different makes make a difference, different decoders make a difference. So it's got two more to do. When that indicator changed to an arrow, that means it's in the measuring zone. Because the train doesn't stop the moment it leaves the measuring zone. Different speeds it has to stop and it gets further away, so this is why it goes from the fastest down to the slowest. And then it drives the front end. It's got to drive the front end out, in this case, as it's going backwards, so it's clear to then do another measurement if there was one beneath it. And it's just about there. And there it is. And then what you do is you just get it to apply, and it puts all the measurements in between. Yeah. And that is it. So that's how you basically speed measure it. I've just opened the locomotive editor, and there's the speed measuring. You can just see a bit. If I just move that out of the way, the moment it does it, it puts it into it. And this is where you put your pictures of the train in, you do your speed, any functions. It's a sound loco. These are the CVs I alter. I don't do any of the others at the moment. I haven't needed to. And this is where the option for everything is. And these are where these milliseconds come into it down here for the acceleration. They're at the lowest. And if I increase that, it just takes a little bit longer and slower to get going. And it's just finer ways of tweaking your loco. And then you stick your addressing, what steps you're on, your name of your loco, and also the measurement up here of the loco. And it's a front cab. All that kind of information you put in. Right, this is some of the movement of what you've seen on the graph and the train actually doing its process. As you can see, that's the train there, and where there's a joint in the track there, from there to there is where it measures the speed. And I'm not going to show you all the way through. I'll show you a few of the faster ones, and then I'll miss the middle out and I'll show you the slower ones. And where it stops, it'll get closer to the measuring point each time, because it's not going as fast. And it can't stop it the moment it's finished measuring. It's got to get the train out to start measuring it from the back of the train in this case. So those two speeds were about the 5 mile an hour mark. Now we're going down to that 1 point something mile an hour. But it doesn't measure it from the moment it starts moving, because everything's got to get going basically. So that's why there's a little bit of forward or backwards direction before it hits the measuring part. And it varies on the speed, what it's doing, as you can see. if you don't do the speed measuring for this particular train, iTrain can't run it to its fullest, as in stop it at a certain point, because it doesn't know what speed it's going. It knows the distance it's travelled in the block, but it doesn't know the speed. And that's also why you have to measure each block, so it knows how long the block is and so on. But once you've done it, that kind of thing, measurement adds for every train. And that is, as I said, it's running about 1.89 miles an hour. And some people may have that a bit faster, that start off speed. But you set that up with the CV start speed, which is called the minimum speed setting on CV2. And the more you give it, the higher the number, the faster it'll go the moment it'll set off. That is a value of 3. Some need a value of 5 to show it moving. Depends how old, how new, how tight the motor is and things like that. Right, so I'm going to have this set off at the standard setting, and you should just see a slow bit of move and then a bit of a pulsy acceleration. So let's see. So this time it's going to set off with 500 milliseconds, an iTrain, increasing the speed, a bit like momentum with your CV3 and 4. It also operates the brakes for slowing it down, to make it smoother, altering them. It's not 500 with every train. Some it can be 300, some it can be a bit more. But this particular one, I think, works quite well with 500, but I can tweak it to whatever I wish it to be. So let's see how it goes. So that's the difference, and it makes a great deal of difference, I think, just to tweak that setting. So I thought you'd be just interested to see that after you've done all your speed measuring. There's little extra bits you can do. Just so you know that it also does the same thing with sound. Nothing doesn't not work right, even though you're not doing it with the handset, that the computer is doing it and the program. So I'll just show you it starting off with the sound going. Something I may never have mentioned, and this isn't probably unique to my system. Other systems may have the same, but on my first layout I had a bus and it had probably 14.79 volts like this one does, and I ran loads of droppers. I had great actual pickup, my trains never failed, but the more trains I had, the difference it made to how I could start the system, or I could run sound trains, and eventually things wouldn't happen. And I had frog juicers, auto frogs, and eventually they would stop working if it was all running on just one. That's why I zoned it and stuff like that. But this, every block I have has an independent 14.79 volts. So it doesn't matter how many trains I've got on, the trains what are moving all have that amount of voltage available. Then it changes to amps and stuff like that. So this, this I quite like. It's just more consistent as it runs round. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was interesting to see. I enjoyed doing it. It's a fascinating thing. I've learned so much about CVs. Anyway, if you can click the like button, subscribe, and please do leave me a comment, ask me questions. I'll do my best to answer them. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye.